A right is a moral, legal, or ethical entitlement to have or do something, representing a fundamental freedom or claim that is owed to individuals, often protected by law or societal norms, like free speech, voting, or fair treatment, and can be inherent human rights or granted by a system, legal rights. Rights establish what people can justly expect or demand from others or their government, balancing freedom with responsibility. Key types of rights: human natural rights, inherent to all humans, existing independently of governments, for example, life, liberty. Legal rights, recognized and enforced by a government or legal system, for example, due process, voting. This adjudication or recognizing and how far to recognizing is distinguished through pragmatic cases to avoid contradictions in actions. This is the case given governments are constructed by reasoning beings operating with the imperative to do so. Often using a resolution principle of casuistry. Casuistry is a general principle in reasoning analogically from clear-cut cases, called paradigms, to vexing cases operating with humility given absent first. Personal authority and privileged access, something which philosophers argue individuals have a unique epistemic knowledge, status regarding their own thoughts and feelings that no one else can share that can be relevant to judgment. Constitutional rights. Specific protections guaranteed by a constitution, for example, First Amendment rights in the US start. These are rights of particular government which forming founders and colonizers structure their unity on. Moral rights. Based on ethical principles, even if not legally enforced, for example, respecting elders. Core concepts: entitlement. A right, which gives someone a claim to something, or to act in a certain way, control over one's own body. Freedom and authority. Rights define the boundaries of individual freedom and the limits of government power. Negative versus positive rights. Negative rights protect freedom from interference, for example, free speech, privacy. Positive rights. Entitlements to something, often requiring action from others, for example, healthcare, education. Rights versus wants. A true right is a just claim, while some political claims of rights, like guaranteed housing or healthcare, are actually deeply held wants or social goals that require resources from others. Blurring the line between entitlement and obligation, say critics. Ethical entitlements are the fundamental rights, claims, or deserts individuals possess based on moral principles, meaning they deserve certain treatment, respect, or resources simply by virtue of being human or fulfilling specific roles. Forming the bedrock for concepts like human rights, justice, and professional conduct, often rooted in dignity or inherent worth. They act as moral entitlements, justifying demands for freedom, privacy, truth, or well-being, and obligate others to respect these claims, as seen in rights-based ethics. Core concepts: moral claim. An ethical entitlement is a powerful moral claim that someone has a just deserts, are deserving of merits, warrants, or is worthy of a specific reward, treatment, or outcome, positive or negative, due to their actions. Qualities: situation, implying it's justified or appropriate for it. Interest, best for, or desire, are implied or explicit want of, to something, like life, liberty, or fair treatment. Inherent dignity. The basis for many entitlements is the belief in human dignity, requiring people to be treated as ends in themselves, not just tools. Source of rights. These entitlements are the foundation of rights-based ethics, philosophical and natural sources, natural law, divine rights. Rights inherent to all humans by virtue of their existence, often considered God-given or derived from nature. Preceding government, for example, life, liberty, property. Enlightenment thinkers. Philosophers like John Locke heavily influenced the idea that individuals possess inalienable rights that governments must protect, given the moral imperative or duty to recognize. Kantian ethics. Kant's concept of treating humanity as an end, not a means, underpins the idea that people have a right to self-determination and respect for their autonomy, establishing fundamental moral rights. This idea, expressed through the categorical imperative, suggests rights arise from a capacity for reason and freedom, demanding universal respect. The UN Human Rights Framework. Article 1 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights Spirit of Brotherhood in Ethics refers to a moral relationship built on solidarity, mutual responsibility, and selfless support. It transcends casual friendship by imposing a moral duty to care for others as if they were kin. In essence, the moral imperative to recognize rights comes from recognizing a shared humanity, reason, and dignity, compelling us to create systems that protect everyone's freedom and flourishing. How well and the extent they are recognized turns on more pragmatic ethical frameworks of conflict resolution. This asserts those with reasoning which does not recognize rights at all that their reasoning or thinking has gone wrong. They are either morally deprived or dysfunctional. Rights operate as a meta-rule for navigating conflict by establishing the structural boundaries within which calibration happens. They define which interests cannot be traded away, which asymmetries must be corrected for, and which claims take lexical priority when values collide. Instead of resolving every conflict directly, rights create a stable frame that tells us which kinds of harm matter most, which forms of power must be constrained, and which decisions must defer to autonomy, safety, or equal standing. In this way, rights don't eliminate conflict, they discipline it, ensuring that our responses track the protected status of persons rather than the shifting pressures of circumstance, and that negotiation, boundary setting, or escalation all unfold inside a shared normative architecture rather than raw preference or force.